Harry wasn't even there for Archie's 6th birthday. There's clearly trouble in paradise, and she's trying to cover it up, and she thinks that we are stupid enough to fall for that crap.
You know, if you didn't know the story behind the whole lot, you'd think they were lovely pictures, but I look at it and I thought it's all contrived.
The facts speak for themselves.
Who took the pictures, Matt? I mean, did he take their own photographer with them?
Harry is as erratic and unstable as a lot of us have been speculating.
Do you think the Princess of Wales would have deliberately worn a Victoria Beckham outfit to show some kind of sign?
I think she would have done, yeah. She certainly did.
Welcome to Royal Exclusive. Now, they say a picture paints 1,000 words, so what is the story behind that doorbell photo of Prince Harry knocking on doors looking for a friend? Meanwhile, the Princess of Wales was pictured full of the joys of spring as she takes side in a different famous family rift. And what do the photos of Harry and Meghan's date night with Beyonce really tell us? I'm Matt Wilkinson, Royal Editor, and with me to discuss all of this and more is legendary royal photographer Arthur Edwards and news commentator Samara Gill. Right, guys, Arthur, you have possibly been behind some of the most iconic pictures of the royal family over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Have you ever seen anything quite so strange and bizarre of Prince Harry on a doorbell camera walking around knocking apparently randomly for friends in a street in West London?
I felt it was bizarre. I thought that, you know, there's this Prince of the Realm, and Princes of the Realm never knock their own doors. They never open their own doors, and they never shut their own doors when they go places. And so there he was trying to find his friends. He must have a poor memory because, or not seen the friends for a long while because he knocked 3 or 4 doors. And in fact, one housekeeper, one of the things said, she didn't even recognise him and said, no, they don't live here. But no, it was, I think it was great. I think it was original. I've never seen it before, anything like that, a royal picture taken on a doorbell phone. No, it was bizarre. And but what was strange about that, Matt, was, of course, that was the day when he was in court trying to get the government to pay for his police protection when he comes here. And there he was wandering door to door, probably had his own personal security with him, but obviously, who could open that door? Anybody. But he obviously doesn't think like that. He just looking for the friend and couldn't remember the number. But it was a great picture.
Well, you're right. This was the same day, Samara, that he was in court in the High Court, and he's going to have to pay £1.5 million, by the way, after losing this case. This is a very lengthy, very expensive case to the taxpayer.
Yeah.
And he was in court that week, and his lawyers were arguing that his life was at stake in the UK. And then here we have one doorbell photo. We understand there's other CCTV of him in the street at other doors, at least 3 doors that he knocked on. What does this say about his behaviour or about his security case, do you think?
I mean, that photo was so revealing, and it basically shows that Harry is as erratic and unstable as a lot of us have been speculating. I mean, the fact that he's been pining for security and protection, but actually in the real world doesn't really care about it, shows a lot. I mean, there's another story that The Sun broke exclusively about a Deliveroo order that he put in when he was staying at a friend's house instead of Buckingham Palace, which was offered to him for his protection. It really shows that it's nothing about his safety and security, in my opinion, and it's all about his status anxiety that he has with William. He wants to be the same, he wants the same protection, and it's not really about anything to do with the kids, Meghan. You know, it's just feeding into this paranoia that Harry has increasingly been showing, and he looks very, very sort of I mean, kind of displaced in that ring photograph that's come out. It looks like almost quite a desperate attempt to see friends, because clearly no one in his family wants to see him in the United Kingdom. So he's sort of almost, you couldn't make this up. He's going around knocking on doors, trying to find a connection that isn't there.
Well, saying that, Samara, I understand you've actually brought us a present, possibly from California. Is that right?
All the way from California. And you spoke about those legal fees that Harry's going to have to pay. I think this jam is going to help out, I guess, hopefully, the sales of it. I've got the As Ever Meghan Markle jam right here. Bought this for you.
Oh,
It's come all the way from Montecito, as Meghan would like you to know. There you go. I hope you can get a close-up shot of that.
Now, these are quite exclusive because they apparently sold out quite quickly. There was only a small amount. Let's open up and have a little look at it.
It was harder to get than Oasis tickets, actually. It was 8 minutes that sold out there, that jam. That's the packaging. There you go, guys. And it's a weird consistency. I haven't tried it because it does look very goopy. It doesn't look like what I'd normally go for, which is a highly sugary version of this.
But it comes in this wonderful box, and it was hugely trailed as this exciting new product. Is it enjoyable? Is it almost like opening an iPhone? Is it an iPhone box? Is it that kind of sensation? Do you like it?
You know, for the amount of money I paid for this jam, it doesn't. There's not that gratification that I was looking for. I mean, I had to bring it over from the States, so it was in the hundreds.
Hundreds of pounds.
Hundreds of pounds. Only for you, Matt, would I do this. So,
well,
and the son.
You wouldn't eat it for that, would you? You can't eat it. I mean, you'd be frightened to eat it at that price. I mean, you know, 3 people having bread and jam, and it'd be gone, wouldn't it? One sitting. Oh.
I mean, $14 she expects us to pay for that. I know you can get the actual Buckingham Palace jam for about £3. So I'd probably recommend going for that because it's not even a jam, it's a spread.
Unfortunately, we don't have anything with us to spread it on, so I'm going to have to decline any opportunity to actually taste it. But I'm going to take your word for it. Your review of the jam, of the spread?
Underwhelming. I want my money back, please, Meghan. Full refund, sorry.
Oh dear. Well, look, I'm glad you brought it in. I'm sad that we're not able to taste it, but if we can just move briefly back on to Harry, if we can. I've never mentioned this before or spoke about it, but the Church Times is not exactly a magazine or a newspaper that we often talk about. But there was an extraordinary interview this week, and this was Canon Angela Tilby, and she used to preach to Harry at Eton. Might have been someone that you rubbed shoulders with back in the day, actually, Arthur. She was there when he was at school.
She's Church of England, I wouldn't have done, no.
And she's mentioned, she's written a sermon in the Church Times in which she's urged Harry to shed the role of victimhood. She's also said that Harry's actions have worsened his alienation from his family and questioned his own claims he's forgiven Charles and the family over Megxit, saying it is clearly a qualified forgiveness. What do we think of these words from Canon Angela Tilby? Do they hit the nail on the head?
Well, I don't think the royals have got to apologise to Harry, quite honestly. I mean, Harry, they gave him their blessing when he went off to the United States. They said, that's what you want to do, Harry, fine. I mean, the Duke of Windsor, when he was exiled, he went off to live in the Bahamas, but he never, ever, ever said a bad word about the royal family. And Harry spent the first year of his life there just rubbishing the royal family. And I think he should be asking them for forgiveness, not demanding forgiveness from them. I think they did everything for him. I mean, the king walked his bride down the aisle. They gave him a wonderful wedding. They gave him a beautiful home at Frogmore House. They spent £2 million renovating it. He didn't want any of that. He went off to America and he made millions and millions of dollars just trashing the royals. And I think he should be on his knees to the king, ask for forgiveness.
Samara, role of victimhood. Is that something that Harry needs to shed?
Well, victimhood is a very California type of term that doesn't really exist in the royal family. And I think a lot of what's behind his rhetoric is Meghan. And a lot of people have been saying that and seeing that increasingly after he moved to Montecito. I mean, that whole BBC interview, which just made him look like a pompous brat, to be honest, and very, very entitled, really made a lot of people question who is in his head. Who is behind this? And so many of the woke terminology that he was using just spoke to me of Meghan. I really think she's behind this, and she feeds upon this victim complex that he already had, but she uses it in order to sort of keep the relationship. I mean, we saw on the Jamie Kern-Lima podcast that she went on, she said, Harry is my protector. He slayed the dragons to protect his family. I mean, who says that? Who are the dragons in this situation? It definitely was not the king and the royal family. All they did was try and protect that boy. And clearly without their protection, he's falling apart.
Well, let's talk about their relationship a little bit, because we did get a little kind of glimpse, maybe into it wasn't really behind the scenes, but these were the photos that we received from Harry and Meghan on a date night at a Beyonce gig. Harry in a hat, Meghan all over Harry for the pictures. They were cuddling, they were looking loved up. What do we think of these pictures? Is this a good glimpse inside their relationship, or was this staged for social media, guys?
I think Harry looked a bit stupid in that hat, quite honestly. I thought if it was a cowboy theme, I think the Cowboys would be disappointed in him. But no, I think look, there's been a lot of talk that they're not getting on, that they're doing separate things, and I think maybe Meghan decided, I'm sure she decided, we're going to do some pictures like that, and I mean, if you didn't know the story behind the whole lot, you'd think they were lovely pictures. But I look at it and I thought it's all contrived, and it's a pity they don't show us pictures of their children that we all want to see. Why? Can you see the backs of them? We never see them, and that's the pictures we want to see, not them again kissing each other and holding hands and just. I just was so disappointed in Harry. I really am.
Well, there has been a lot of online speculation. We've also covered it in The Sun, the fact that professionally they have split and they're going their separate ways. Do you believe what we're seeing here on Meghan's Instagram, that it's just a happy, loved-up couple out on a date night, hugging, wearing a hat with it? I think it had tributes to their two children drawn inside the hat as well.
Like every piece
Clearly
of creepy,
contrived.
Creepy clothing. I know Meghan's got the weird sort of turtleneck that she wears with the Archie and Lilibet on it. It's just strange. And I think, first of all, I mean, there's some interest. I don't know what Harry is trying to cover up with that hat. I don't know if it's male pattern baldness, but I think that whole thing was so contrived, as you said, Arthur. And I just think that Meghan is the biggest paparazzi in Harry's life. It didn't need to be all out there. But what I know is that she was trying to absolutely flood all the media channels with those photos to detract from the Ring camera photos. That is very obvious, because she was posting all weekend. I mean, we didn't need to see them at the Beyonce concert. Harry wasn't even there for Archie's 6th birthday. There's clearly trouble in paradise, and she's trying to cover it up, and she thinks that we are stupid enough to fall for that crap. I mean, I'm not going to fall for a photo of her smiling with Harry and a video reel of them kissing. The facts speak for themselves.
Who took the pictures, Matt? I mean, did they take their own photographer with them?
Well, I'm assuming they did.
Well,
some of them were
if that's the
professionally
case, well, it is as Samara said, it's just contrived, and that'd be interesting to know who took them. It wasn't bylined. I never saw anywhere. I never saw anybody photographer's name on any of the pictures.
It may well be one of their team with a smartphone, because smartphones
probably,
are great these days. But it really has been a week of of contrasting pictures, as you just pointed out there. We've got the doorbell camera of Harry walking up and down the street, and then you've got this carefully curated set of Instagram photos. On Meghan's Instagram page, she's, I think, beginning of January, or maybe January the 1st, she launched this Instagram page. Samara, you are all over social media. I know, TikTok and Instagram star. What do you make of her Instagram page so far? Is it a hit? Is it achieving what she wants, what her aims are for this page?
I was looking at it the other day for something I was going to write, and it's just quite sad, to be honest. I actually do think that when I look at that page and I look at some of the pathetic photos that she puts out there, and she's trying to curate this weird, cheapo image, in my opinion, it makes me think you left all of that. You left the iconic British royal family so that you could have an Instagram page and post a couple of photos of you picking lemons in an orchard. It really doesn't weigh up, but I think it is where Meghan is most comfortable. She wants to control the narrative. She wants to do it on her own terms. Obviously, she was doing it well before she met Harry with the TIG, and this is just sort of a weird rendition of that, using her titles and using anything she can to gain relevancy. But it hasn't really achieved, I think, what she wanted it to achieve. I think she wanted it to achieve this rebrand for her. She wanted everyone to love her. She wanted to be the Gwyneth Paltrow style of influencer. But every time she posts something, it just doesn't quite hit the mark. It doesn't quite do what it needs to do or needs to achieve.
But this is the modern way, isn't it, Arthur? Is to to prevent other people taking pictures of you or using other pictures. You take your own picture. If you're a celebrity, you take your own pictures, you curate them carefully, and you put them out on social media. This is what celebrities do. in your business.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they like to have them airbrushed, and they like to have them, made to look their very best. Well, Meghan. I mean, Meghan's a good-looking girl. She's and she knows it as well. And if she just wants to make us believe that everything in Montecito is great, and it's not. And about the Instagram page, she's only going to put what she wants to put, and quite honestly, I can't be bothered to looking at it. It just
so boring.
Boring, yeah.
Do you think it's increasing or decreasing Harry and Meghan's popularity?
I think their popularity is in the cellar at the moment. Quite honestly, I really do. I think, as I said last time we did this show, Matt, if Harry had said in that BBC interview, "I'm sorry," we might start thinking there could be a reconciliation. But at the moment, all I'm seeing is him, as you said earlier, acting the victim. And quite honestly, the victim here isn't Harry and isn't Meghan. They're the people that have just abused their position that they had. And moment the late Queen died, they made their daughter a princess and their son a prince. And yet we never see these royal children. We never see their faces. We never see how they look. We just get what Meghan wants to give us and back views. And why is that? Because maybe she wants to monetize the pictures of the children at some stage, and she sees that as a big deal, And she's American, and that's the way they work in America. They think that's the next big deal, and perhaps she's got that worked out already.
I mentioned there about popularity. There was, just before we sat down, there was a YouGov poll that was released on royal family favourability. And obviously they're not elected, they're not politicians, so we don't have elections to find out who is the most popular. So it's very hard to know.
Yeah.
But once again, William and Catherine remain Britain's favourite royals, closely followed by the King.
Yeah.
The King, 6 in 10 have a positive opinion of King Charles. But William and Catherine were way ahead. But the interesting thing is the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, her favourability was just 20%. This is the lowest level since she arrived on the scene when YouGov first did the polls in 2017. So the Instagram curated images, as ever, jam, doesn't seem to be working, Samara.
No, I think one of the greatest pull factors of the royal family is the mystery behind it all. The fact that people don't know a lot of what goes on behind closed doors. And that's where Meghan's got it all wrong, because she's broadcast her entire life out to us, and we've actually judged it. And we've said that's kind of bland and boring and actually quite sad, to be honest, especially when we saw that photo of Harry this week, but also we've seen so many other sort of disastrous platitudes that are very empty on her podcast. We've seen the real her, and we don't like it. Sometimes it's better to just kind of be a little bit more private. But privacy is not in her vocabulary. It's not something that she's very familiar with, and I think that's actually been her problem.
So I don't always like pitting the Duchess of Sussex against the Princess of Wales. It's not always helpful, but Catherine's top. Okay, Catherine and William are always top of this poll. This week, Princess of Wales has been very visible. We had the video. I'm calling it Kate Outdoors, by the way. Woman for all seasons. But this video talking about nature is her sanctuary. It's one of the first of her 4 videos that she's going to do, speaking about nature connected to the seasons. She's spoken in the past about how being outdoors in nature has helped with her cancer recovery. And we've also seen her, I was very lucky enough to be on this rota job where she was at the British Fashion Council with some very fashionable people, by the way, some very young up-and-coming fashion designers, but she stole the show. She was called a style icon by the winner of the award that she presented. What's she doing right?
Well, she was wearing Posh's outfit.
She was wearing Victoria Beckham's
She was suited and
outfit.
booted. She looked great.
And she always looks good, though. She doesn't need to go to a fashion show to look great. She looks good in jeans. She's just she like has got a model, got a figure like a supermodel. And she wears clothes beautifully and always seems to get it right. So I'm not surprised, Matt. And I imagine the designers were thankful she was there, that wearing one of the British designers' outfits, because one thing the late Princess Diana did was she all wore British designers' outfits and boosted the fashion industry. And I think Kate does that very well too.
I might be in church, Samara. We mentioned there about the Victoria Beckham dress. It was a kind of power suit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But she had chosen a British designer. Am I being churlish suggesting that there is a kind of Megxit-esque family rift going on within the Beckhams? You're probably more qualified than me to explain what's happened. But
over to you, Samara. Over to you, Samara. Yeah.
Brooklyn Beckham didn't turn up to David Beckham's 50th.
No.
And there seems to be a dispute between Victoria Beckham and Brooklyn's American wife, which does sound quite familiar when we're talking about the royal family.
Yeah, there are issues there, certainly. I mean, he also didn't show up to Romeo's 21st birthday, which was also a couple of days ago. So he's definitely trying to distance himself from the family. I mean, he lives in America now. He enjoys the very nice lifestyle of Nelson Peltz, who is Nicola Peltz's multi-billionaire father. I think he's chosen the money, in my opinion. That's just a speculation, but I think that he's very happy with the cushy lifestyle that Nelson kind of shows. And he's kind of like the poster child for being a Nepo baby. He has all these kind of ventures, photography ventures, chef ventures that don't go very right. And I think in terms of Nicola, a lot of people are drawing comparisons between his wife and Meghan's because she is quite controlling. Her and Victoria, reports say, they don't get along. And I think that it's one of those situations where he's had to choose between mother or wife. And similar to Harry, he's chosen his wife over his family.
So it does sound familiar. But do you think the Princess of Wales would have deliberately worn a Victoria Beckham outfit to show some kind of sign?
I think she would have done, yeah. She certainly did. I mean, British designers really took off with her. She just really wore their clothes. And of course, she looked stunning in them. But you know, David Beckham is a really nice person, a lovely man, and he does an awful lot for people. And, you know, I don't know why he didn't come to his father's party. I mean, if he left his wife at home, fine, but, you know, I think he should have been there. I think he's, you know, he's tried everything to give that boy a start, as you say. He's tried photography, he's trying to be a chef. And now he's to be a toy boy, just running around with this...
exactly right, yeah.
With this rich family. Well, you know, I think, personally, family's everything. I think, you know, your mother, your father, your siblings, they're everything to you. And if you distance yourself from them, I think it's a sad life. I mean, it's just similar to Harry. He's distanced himself from his family. And it's just I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's terrible. I think family's everything. I think everything, yeah.
It's a very familiar story then.
These Americans taking away Britain's finest men, you know. Harry, Brooklyn, who next?
Yeah. They're not being dragged kicking and screaming though, are they?
No.
They're willing participants, I think, Harry.
The LA lifestyle's not bad.
I was just mentioning earlier about Princess of Wales's video. So some of it was set in the Isle of Mull. It was set to music. She narrated it. She was talking about nature and, you know, talking about spring. We're going to get 4 of these. Timed for each season. We've possibly compared the Instagram and social media pages between the Princess of Wales and the Duchess of Sussex. They've both got modern approaches to telling their stories. Do we favour one over the other? Do we look forward to Meghan's Instagram posts more than the Prince and Princess of Wales? Or what's your thoughts, Samara?
I mean, I think Kate and William had the original Instagram page that I think Meghan actually copied a lot out of. This sort of whimsical, soft camera lighting, you know, beiges, linens. That's more Meghan. But I think that...
back view of the kids.
Back view of the kids. I mean, I think they were the original ones. They really mastered social media early on. I remember, you know, even 2012, 2013, they were posting fantastic videos, but kind of showing enough, but also keeping their privacy intact. And I think that with Kate's beautiful videos, she's talking more about her healing journey. And I think in a way, Meghan's copying her, but William and they never put a foot wrong, William and Kate. They never do.
She's using this, isn't she, Arthur, to kind of tell us more about her personality
in
her own words.
The thing is, when she was ill, she did that video telling us exactly what was wrong with her. That was pretty brave. I thought very brave. And you know, we all watched that, and you know, we just wished that she was going to get through it, and she did. And now this video is to celebrate that, you know, to say, you know, look, I'm through it, and But thank God, and this is what I want to do. I want to spend more time in the outdoors. And I think comparing the two, I think, you know, she was quite ill and she looked tired, and then now we get to see this lovely lady just walking around Scotland. It was just brilliant. So no, I think it's a great thing. And as far as you know, I think Catherine's a very good photographer as well, and she's got the eye for it, and she looks wonderful. So I think it's brilliant, and I hope the other 3 videos that come are just as good.
Yeah, well, I imagine this is something that's she'll get more confidence, or the Wales will get more confident now in producing these videos, and I think we're going to get more and more of them telling their stories on Instagram in the same way that Meghan and Harry are telling us their love story on Instagram. So we're just going to have to be on our phones the whole time trying to find out what's going on both sides of the Atlantic, sadly.
Beyonce concert versus the hills of England.
No comparison.
Yeah.
No.
Now, last week, Arthur, we were on with Robert Jobson, and we had a really good chat, I think, about the King and everything that he's gone through, and everything, the kind of achievements that he's succeeded in the last couple of years. You were a keen viewer, I imagine, of his VE Day speech.
I was, yeah. I thought it was pretty brilliant, actually. I thought, he used it to talk about, war and peace and the things he cares about. Yeah, I thought that was the best part of the concert, actually. I thought, when after that, it all sort of just, for me, was a bit boring. I thought, they needed some of the old veteran rockers like Tom Jones and probably Rod Stewart, to liven it up at the end. But, watching Dad's Army was funny, but the King's speech was, it was excellent. I think he made the point very much that, the world is in turmoil at the moment. We've got India and Pakistan, we've got Israel and, of course, Ukraine. So it's no fun now. Every time you pick the papers up, it's just misery everywhere, and people, and, Gaza, of course, So, he's made that point. And, a lot of people take notice of what he says. He never makes speeches without giving it an awful lot of thought. And as you know, I like him a lot, and I do feel that he is he's a statesman as well as our king. He realises that people listen to what he says, and let's hope Donald Trump's out in the Middle East now. Maybe let's hope he can sort of solve some of the problems there. But the King is he thinks about it carefully, and he always injects a bit of humour into it as well.
There was one little joke in there about the late Queen conga line dancing outside
exactly.
Palace.
So he always does that to line it up a bit, but clever man, yeah.
With all this kind of look, we've outlined how much trivial news there is with the royals the last couple of weeks, with a doorbell ring cam, dancing at a Beyonce concert. It is very important sometimes to just remember that the royals should tackle serious issues. And he's done 2 speeches this week. I'm just going to quickly run through the things he said. He said, we should, on VE Day, speaking at this concert, he said, we should rededicate ourselves not only to the cause of freedom, but to renewing global commitments to restoring a peace where there is war, to diplomacy and to the prevention of conflict. Samara, is King Charles the right man to get these messages across? Is he the right person that political leaders will listen to, or people watching on the telly would sit at home, hear this serious message coming from a man like King Charles?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's very, very respected, and he's settled into his role really nicely, actually. I feel like the VE Day speech was one of his best yet, actually. And he is really there to unify everyone. I mean, the royal family has always been like that. But I think what helps with King Charles is the fact that he has been through a lot of adversity in his own life, opposed to some of the other royals in history. And he's faced a lot of his own challenges. And that, I think, is what makes him a lot more likeable and personable to the people, but also to world leaders that he might interact with. I mean, I know that there's going to be a state visit with Donald Trump, and sort of the government's almost leaning on him to repair a lot of those relations that they may have tattered a little bit. And so that's what the King should be used for. It should be used to unite Britain, but also to sort of show on the world stage who we are and what type of values we stand for.
And it's worth pointing out that sections of this speech were actually put on the Buckingham Palace Instagram and X pages as well. So the King has also using, these social media platforms to get across his message. So.
I think all his speeches are great, Matt. I told him that.
I think they've improved. Sorry to interrupt
Yeah, I
you.
agree.
I think they've improved since he's become king. Maybe because
absolutely they have.
Yeah.
I mean, the Christmas Day speeches are brilliant. I mean, in fact, the first one he gave, it got record figures. I mean, for Christmas viewing. So, I mean, these speeches are brilliant. But as I say, he gives it a lot of thought, and he takes a lot of advice, and he checks all these facts, and he gives it, and it really meaningful. I think, they're the best thing.
We were in Italy a couple of weeks ago and he was speaking in Italian and English.
Marvellous, and he was entertaining as well, And even his speech at the state banquet, he said, "Thank you for putting on this lovely candlelight dinner for my wife and I on our anniversary." Yeah. I mean, that's funny, and at the same time, he always makes a very, very important point. I mean, one Christmas speech, he said, put yourself in your neighbour's shoes, and just think of, some people are not so well off and not doing so well. And I think those things it makes you think. And I think that's the point he's trying to make. He's trying to make a difference. As I said, he's not only our king, he's a superb statesman too.
Well, we've got you mentioned about the possible Donald Trump trip. We've got Macron and France coming over. So there'll be another speech there, probably at Windsor Castle. They'll have the state banquet and he'll give another address there. Yeah. And, Britain and France are working quite closely in Europe on Ukraine. So the serious issues that the king has to get stuck into.
Of course, yeah. And with Donald Trump, I mean, I'm sure he'll mention a few things to him, privately. And, who knows? It's
he's a man of many words.
Yeah, and also he cares so much. He certainly cares so much.
Okay, good. Now, we've just got a couple of minutes to speak about Meghan's latest podcast. Hang on. No, I'm hearing we don't have time to talk about Meghan's podcast this week. But we do have time for the quickfire questions, possibly the highlight of the show. So, everybody, if we can take a deep breath and have a little bit of think of these, short answers if possible. What is the most surprising royal photo you've ever seen?
I mean...
One of the most surprising photo I've ever seen, or photograph, is at the Isle of Wight, and Catherine had been on a sailing with the children, and as she came off the boat, Charlotte turned around and poked her tongue out at us. And I took that picture with surprise. But that was the most surprising thing for me. I mean, I'd expect that for a young lady like that, but it made the paper the next day.
Most surprising photo you've seen, royal photo?
I mean, I've got to say, obviously the Ring doorbell cam is sort of stuck in my mind at the moment, but one of yours, Arthur, the Taj Mahal photo, I know it's not exactly surprising, but it just is stuck in my mind as one of those most iconic photos of Diana just there on her own. You could kind of really delve into that.
Miss Lonely, yeah.
Yeah, Lonely
Did you ever
Di.
miss any photos?
Oh, God, did I? I remember once in Australia, went to where the royals were staying. I saw Princess Diana getting out the swimming pool. I photographed it, thought I'd won the pools. No film in the camera.
No.
And I didn't tell anybody about that for 20 years.
That could have been almost as surprising and iconic.
Major regrets, yeah.
Well, if you're going to mess it up big, but you never made the same mistake twice.
I think you got a couple good ones to make up for it.
Yeah. I got away
She'll
with
probably
it.
thank you for that, though.
Yeah.
Well, in many ways, perhaps it was a good idea anyway. I mean, I already took pictures of her when she was pregnant in the Bahamas, and I got a lot of stick for that. So maybe it wasn't but them days were them days. That was in the 80s, yeah. So, but anyway,
Next question. Which royal would you most like or dislike knocking on your front door?
I mean, dislike, I'm going to go with Prince Andrew. I mean, I am a bit... Actually, I can't say that. I'm not a bit old for him. But anyway, I would go for Prince Andrew. I don't want that, man. I think he's just in a bad mood. He's in a bad way. Don't want that. Seriously, don't want that on my ring cam.
Arthur?
I suppose I wouldn't mind George knocking on my door, I think he's a shy young man, and he's coming out of his shell a little bit more, and I'd like to come in with a cup of tea and maybe a Coca-Cola and have a chat to him. Yeah, I think he's an emerging force now. I think William's doing a very good job with him, yeah.
I saw him at the VE Day commemorations last couple of weeks ago in Buckingham Palace, and he was there we talked about this before, he was there with William, and he really looks like he's
I think George, I think he's he's come at that where he'd have a conversation and he'd have his own ideas about things. It'd be interesting, that, yeah.
Right, here's a tricky one. Ahead of this weekend's Eurovision Song Contest, which royal would best represent the UK?
Whoa, that's for you, Samara.
Oh, God. Gosh, I've got to say, goodness me, probably Beatrice maybe, I'd probably say. I think she'd put on a good show.
Beatrice and Eugenie would actually
a bit of a duo, you know, karaoke style kind of duo. I'd definitely watch that. Yeah.
We always lose anyway, so it doesn't matter. And finally, which royal, past or present, do you wish had a social media account?
The late Queen, I think, yeah. I think, I mean, she was, you know, the palace sort of brought her into the 20th century with social media, but I think she was really that keen on it. But of course, you know, I think she could make it, like if she did a Twitter account and put her ideas down every day, she'd get about 10 million followers on the first day, you know, because she was a very interesting person, but she kept her private thoughts to herself. But so that's what I'd like to have seen that, but it didn't happen.
I'd love to see Henry VIII with an Instagram account or a Twitter. I'd love him just tweeting, you know, with his cup of wine and his many wives.
Not another bloody wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just know he'd be revenge posting and doing all these.
Yeah.
He'd be banned.
Yeah, he'd be banned probably after an hour. Yeah. Even too much for Elon Musk, probably even.
Well, what a thought to end on. Thanks so much, guys. We covered a lot. That was really good fun. Thank you. Right, well, thanks so much for watching. If you like the show, please like and leave a comment, because we always read them, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. See you next week.